All right, welcome back everyone to another episode of the Accenture podcast. Super excited today. Today we have our good friend Cristobal here from Bumble Bee Cleaning Services. We're going to be getting into the cleaning space and how he's built his company, so we're super excited. Chris, if you could introduce yourself a little and let us know what Bumblebee's about.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Wade, for the invitation. Really excited to be here. A little bit about me. My name is Cristobal Mondragon. I'm from Mexico City. I currently live in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been living here for about a year, but most of my time when I lived in Seattle. So I moved from Mexico to Seattle, and I lived there for about 22 years. But in 2014, yeah, that's 2014. That's when my wife started to working as a house cleaner. I was working as a car dealer salesman, and I noticed very shortly that it was an industry that had a lot of, and I decided to quit my job and focus on growing the business. Now we're here. It's been almost 11 years now. Currently in the seven-figure mark rap. So very exciting journey. And then I'll share more details as we go. But yeah,
Perfect. Well, super cool introduction. How both you and your wife teamed this. Are you guys still in it, doing this together now?
that's correct. Yeah, like I said, when she decided to start the business, I remember she mentioned to me, we were having dinner, and she's like, Chris, I'm currently working for this company. Why don't we do this ourselves? It's not that hard. I remember my answer was like, "You're crazy. It's just cleaning. Didn't sound appealing to me." But I said, "I'll help you with a little bit of marketing." All I knew at the time, because I was selling cars, it was Craigslist. Back in the day, there was no OfferUp, no marketplace. Craigslist was the site to sell your services. So I started doing that. And man, I'm telling you, in 3 months, he was making more money than I was making on commission. And that's when I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna quit and I'm gonna go full throttle here.
Wow. So, I mean, let us know a little more about Bumblebee. How do you guys find your customers and what do you do to make it a special experience for them?
Great question. So it's been evolving as far as like what are the channels that we've been using to grow the business. First channel, it was Craigslist. That was really it because I didn't know the time other than that platform. Or second platform that helped us to grow from the low 10,000 a month to like 25K a month, it was Yelp. So I remember Yelp was bugging me. Hey, we have so many searches in our area. Would you like to sign up? And I just kept saying no because I thought, no, I'm not ready. But eventually they sent me an email with an offer, said, sign up today and spend $300 and we'll give you $300 in credit. I'm like, oh, that's free money. So I end up signing up. And a funny story, at the time also, I had recently installed a booking form on my website, which at the time was very new. Now there's more companies offering online booking, but this is 2014, very unheard of. So what I was so happy about is that I signed up for Yelp. That very same day I installed my booking form. And then the following morning, I have two bookings from people who book at 2 in the morning. I'm like, who is looking for cleaning services at 2 in the morning? But since I have a booking form, people were able to book. And I was like, this is awesome. So from there, I started spending money on Yelp. Shortly after, I started practicing with Google Pay-per-click. That took a while to find the right agency because there's a lot of agencies out there that will promise you, I'll get you X amount of leads and I'll make you a good return on investment. But you know, you'll find out that it's not true. So you had to go through quite a few of them until you find the right one. So once I found the right one, then I was able to scale it, and now we're doing a a, a mix of everything. So we still do Craigslist, still works. There's a high traffic site still. We do Google pay-per-click ads. That will be our number one channel right now. Google local services ads, which is a pay-per-call from Google, and Facebook ads. So we do Facebook ads, pay-per-click, and Google OSA and Craigslist. I don't do Yelp anymore because I started getting some bad reviews, unfortunately. And then Yelp is it's pretty famous for keeping the bad reviews up and the good reviews they take them down. So it's kind of like not fair. So I just decided to stop using them. But yeah, if you focus really on Google, I think that's my number one channel right now. That's where we get the most out of it.
Okay. So, I mean, you guys have definitely, expanded into other areas. What do you feel like's been the hardest part within getting new customers, today in the business?
Well, there's more competition for sure, and the competition is good. But the problem is there's a lot of solo cleaners that undervalue their services. So, for example, when you have when you do have a business, you have to pay the employees, you have to pay payroll tax, workers' compensation, overhead supplies, and your salary plus your profit. And so all that adds up, and you have to have a certain amount that you should charge. In our case, we charge about $60 per hour per person, with a minimum of 3 hours per visit, meaning 180 is my minimum charge. You'll find out that is because this is a pretty simple business to start. All you need to do is a couple towels, a mop, and some chemicals. Anybody can start a cleaning business, and a lot of people end up charging $25 per hour. And so it's very hard to compete with that. However, it's all about how you frame or how you add value to the customer when you get the call. There's when usually when the customer says, "Oh, that's more than I expected to pay," I always refer them to my reviews. Hey, we have more than 700 reviews on Google. We've been in this business for 11 years. Yes, I cannot compete with solo cleaners, but what I can compete is I have the best service out there. And then we have 24-hour guarantee service. So meaning if you're not happy, just let us know and we come back to reclean at no cost to you. So there's really no risk. And so some people understand that and are, I'd rather to pay a little bit more, but I know it's gonna get done correctly, versus risking to pay less and then have a not so good job.
And I feel like that's pretty difficult to communicate. You guys are a premium service company. You guys do a really good job. You're reliable. Not as reliable as the 16-year-old throwing
Hmm.
a mop around, right?
Right.
So you mentioned on the phone you use reviews. How else do you guys communicate that professionalism? How do you guys show that they can trust you?
Well, definitely having the reviews has helped us a lot, especially to justify our higher prices. Um, when we started 11 years ago, we had just a handful, but there was not enough competition. It was a fairly open business. Really, the competitors were like the Merry Maids, Molly Maids, because they're very big franchises. So at the time, those were really our biggest competitors. And then they were already charging like $70 per hour at the time. So they were like very high cost, and so it was like an easy entry for us at the time. And so one of my focus, it was really to get the reviews, because I knew the way I saw it, looking back, is like every time I go out and then maybe I want to eat something, I go to Google and then I check the reviews. And if that restaurant has good reviews, it's pretty much is the confidence that tells me, okay, that place is good. But and if the place has no good reviews, and then I don't risk it, right? Same concept. I figure, okay, I need to focus on getting reviews every time. And that was the hardest thing. Right now we have 702 reviews, if I remember correctly. That took quite some time. It didn't happen overnight. But it was every time that you ask a customer, hey, would you leave us a review? And then in exchange, I'll give you a $30 credit towards your next cleaning. So I'm implying, hey, there's a credit for you for the next service if you just take 5 seconds of your time and share your experience with other people. So definitely for us, what was a big important thing to do, just focus on getting as many reviews as possible.
Definitely smart to focus on that. I know some companies they miss that Google part. They may even be spending money for ads, and people pass them up if even if they have a couple less reviews than other people. So,
Yes.
really great, smart idea of how you guys do that. I'm curious, how do you guys keep your customers, coming back and buying?
That's a great question. So the way we do it is, so we have a flat rate. And this is important, right? There is a lot of cleaners that sell the service by the hour, which I don't recommend, because if you sell the service by the hour, you're gonna get hourly customers. Which means if you finish earlier, let's say a customer buys 4 hours of your cleaning, and then you go and you end up finishing the job in 3 hours. Now that customer is going to ask you to fold the clothes, to do the dishes, to do just extra things, right? That are not really part of it. So one tip that I recommend other guys is you sell by a flat rate, right? So you can create a scale based on square footage. So that's how we do it. We have a every 500 square foot, we increase the rate about $50 more, and then we just sell the service as it is, or a flat rate. Now, when we do the service, then usually people are very amazed. I love when people say, "Wow, I came home and my house looked completely different." That is the perfect time to pitch the recurring service. Is really that's the bread and butter of this type of service. Recurrent revenue. So what we do is say, okay, if you sign up today, right? It's always gonna like have you wanna sign up today. I'll give you 15% discount on your quote if you sign up for bi-weekly service. And if you sign up for weekly service, I increase the discount to 20%. We also do that for monthly, right? So if you do monthly, that's not ideal, but it's still recurring. I offer them a 10% discount. So 10% monthly, 15% bi-weekly, 20% weekly. People see like, oh, that's a great incentive because they're going to pay a little less. But now on the clock, you're not paying for that customer anymore. And then next thing you know, you have 180 customers and you're already generating $1 million a year in recurring revenue.
Hmm. I mean, you guys are going to these places so much. I'm sure some of your cleaning people have seen some pretty funny, crazy things as they've gone out to all these different homes, right?
But yeah, I've seen it all, my friend. It's definitely, it's a fun industry. Uh, we have seen from homes that tell you, oh, this is a small home, very clean, and you show up, it is totally not the case. Then you have to either, well, one was to talk to the customer and say, hey, the home is not in the condition as it was described, so we need to adjust the price. That's very common thing. But also sometimes people expectations from people are all over the place. So one of the most important things you can do is when you're selling the service, you need to make sure that they're on the same page. And the way we do it, we have a list of terms of service that I send them after they book and say, hey, I'm going to send you a list of the terms of service. Make sure you read it and that you understand what is expected from us. And if you're something not clear, just let me know, and we can always accommodate. So that's very important, right? You set the expectations right from the beginning. The problem is like when you give them a price and you don't tell them like the rules, then you show up and then you want to change the price. They seem like as a bait and switch, and they don't like that. But if you mention on the call like, hey, this quote might change based on the condition of the home, they understand that, right? So it's very important to have all these systems in places. It's like very little things, but at the end of the day, it all makes it's like a puzzle. You have to have all your pieces. In terms of services, flat rates, guaranteed of service. You offer background check employees, and then once that they understand all that, then it's a pretty smooth transaction.
Yeah, I like what you said about expectations because I know when it comes to people's personal house, their personal belongings, people can be pretty picky sometimes, and I'm sure that makes the industry kind of hard. What do you feel like customers complain the most about in this industry? With working with you guys, what's the biggest thing they're worried about?
It's usually when the cleaners miss an area. That was a very common thing we used to deal with back in the day. Complaints. Hey, your girls didn't clean the floor correctly, or the bathroom there's like a hair, right? There's very picky customers who were like, use a hair, and then either they want a discount, they want a refund, or something like that, right? But the way you combat that is by having checklist. So we have three services that we sell. It's like the recurring service that I was mentioning, recurring maintenance. We have a deep cleaning, which is very true cleaning top to bottom. Those usually is every 3 months or so. And then there's the move in, move out cleaning, which is people are moving out or moving in. That is the most complete service. But so you want to productivize your services, all right? So we have three services, and each service has a checklist what is included on each service. So the way we avoid these issues is by, oh, you booked a deep cleaning services? Great. I'm gonna send you the checklist so you see what exactly you're gonna get. And the cleaner is also gonna get the checklist. And they're gonna see, okay, this customer selected deep cleaning. Make sure that you check every area so you don't miss anything. And at the end of the cleaning, you sign the form and you leave it on the counter on the kitchen. So that way the customer knows that you actually took the time to review each area and then you actually did it.
Interesting. I think those processes that you can put across the board and have everyone do really helps the company be more stable, better reviews things. Also, helps you guys with training and growing faster, making sure people are doing what's right. I'm
That is
interested in
correct.
that. As you guys have grown, where are you guys at right now, and where do you want to be in the next couple of years?
Great question. So right now, we're averaging about 1.2 million a year in sales. That's in gross sales. Our biggest month was 2022. We did 1.5, and ever since it's kind of like dropping a little bit, but still over a million. So that's good. Um, right now, our biggest hurdle is just being scaling past that. You'll find out that most home services businesses, the hardest part is finding the right people. Right? We have a lot of churn. We get a lot of applicants, yes, because cleaning sounds easy. But once that you go and do this thing over and over and over and over, and then sometimes you run into houses that are like upside down, that's when you're like, you know what, maybe this is not for me. And so constantly churn. So that is one of my biggest things. Is just we cannot find enough good people. We right now we have 20 people that are like full time, and then also I have 3 people that are virtual assistants. That is something that I wanna mention. Yeah, if you have a home service business, definitely look into getting virtual assistants. It's a fraction of the cost that you will pay someone here, and then that will definitely help you with the bottom line. Yeah, you end up making more. So 3 full time virtual assistants, 20 full-time local employees. And so that's the location on Seattle, right? So like I mentioned earlier, I was mentioned to you before the call, is that last year we moved from Seattle to Atlanta. The cost of living in Seattle is fairly high, and that was one of the reasons we decided to move, because houses in the West Coast are like in the millions, so million plus. And in the East Coast, you still can find a big property for like about 350. So we end up, buying a house here. And I figured at the time, I told my wife, well, we already have everything in place. We have the employees, we got the customers, we got virtual assistants answering the phone. We pretty much can manage this online. And so we took the plunge, and then we decided to relocate here to Atlanta. Now, here I started another location, and something that's funny, right? 10 years in Seattle, already with experience and processes, I already learned. I know what works and what doesn't. I literally thought, oh, I'm just gonna copy and paste, and then I'm gonna be able to scale faster here. Nope, totally different market, clients, totally different expectations, bigger homes, lower pay, everything is more spread out. So you had to drive quite a bit more, and so it was not as easy as I thought it was going to be. But but still, though, it's a growth. So we have about a year here on this location, and right now we have only 4 employees that are full time. At the time in Seattle, we already had like 6 or 8, so it's definitely taking longer here, and so that's something that is like, right. Not every market is the same, so it's just different expectations from customers and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm interested into what you've done differently in this new market. Obviously, it's different. You've probably had to try new things. What are you guys doing now to try to scale? What are you doing now that you've learned some things?
Yeah, what a question. So here we tried everything that we do over there, right? So from pay-per-click, Google LSA, Facebook ads. And interestingly enough is that even though people pay here less, I figured the cost per lead was gonna be also lower. It's not. It's actually higher than Seattle. I'm like, what? Why is that? So I had to stop the paid ads for a little bit, and I started relying more in call approach, cold calling and cold emailing. So what we want to do here is maybe not rely a lot in the residential side, but more like start looking into the commercial side.
Mm.
So, contacting businesses, gyms, churches, car dealers, daycares, you name it. And pretty much this type of business, they're everywhere, right? And so they're easier to clean versus a home. A home is more detailed. You have to find, you need to send a person that knows how to clean professionally. Otherwise, the customer is not gonna like it. Uh, Commercial cleaning is more easy to teach. Pretty much dusting, vacuuming, taking the garbage out, cleaning the glass, and on to the next one. You're not dealing with greasy kitchens or dirty bathrooms. It's pretty much just vacuuming and dusting, and so fairly more scalable. And so there's business everywhere, and then they all need cleaning up. Sometimes they do it in house, but a lot of them they'll rather pay a company to do it. So that's what we're doing differently here. So it's definitely doing a lot of cold emailing, warming these people, right? Waiting for the positive responses to say, yeah, I'm interested in a cleaning quote. Then I go in person, talk to the owner, see what they need, how often they need the cleaning, and then I'll work on the price with them, and then I sign up a new customer. So that's what we're trying to do differently here. So here's more like commercial residential, and then Seattle is definitely more residential.
Interesting. Um, as companies grow and they're doing these different systems, I was interested how you said you've recently acquired some virtual assistants, right?
Mhm.
So that answer the phones and things like that. Are those like AI, people calling, answering phones, or tell me more about that, like the technology you've implemented.
Yeah, great question. So no, definitely it's real people. I honestly I think AI is it's amazing, especially in the last couple of years. It's been growing so fast, but I just don't think it's there yet to be to give good customer service. In my case, when I call a business and then a computer answers me, I was like, really? I need a human. So even though it's good, right? I think there's that disconnect of really people wanting to talk with a real person. So in my case, I have people there from South America. So I have two people there from Venezuela and one girl that is from Colombia. So two of the so the two people work from Monday to Friday, and then each person it's assigned to the location. So one is taking care of the calls in Seattle, the other person is taking care of the calls in Georgia. And then they work only Monday through Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday I have the girl from Colombia who manages both locations because it's the weekend. That we don't get as many calls, so she can handle both locations. So she works like a part time, so 10 hours per day, 10 hours on Saturday, 10 hours on Sunday, and so that's how I operate both locations. I like it because it's okay. I've been using virtual assistants for quite a while. Um, uh, I uh, I remember the way I ended up finding out about them is through a friend who had a cleaning business in Chicago, and he said, "Oh, you should hire a virtual assistant." I'm like, "What?" Like, it just sounded crazy to me at the time, and I'm like, "But how do they answer the phone? What about the credit cards? What if they steal him?" Right? There's like a lot of concerns for me, and he's like, "No, look into hiring from the Philippines," and I started doing that, and I found out the Philippines is, well, they have they learn English since a young age. So that is most of them they speak English. So I end up hiring them, but I had a little issue. They don't speak Spanish, and a lot of my cleaners are only Spanish speaking. So I still had to do the translation in between. And so that's when eventually I decided to move to South America. I'm like, I need someone that is bilingual in Spanish and English. That way I don't have to be involved with the translation and whatnot. But yeah, so basically you need the technology, you need a virtual phone system. In our case, we use Open Phone. So Open Phone, you buy a phone number that is local, and then you create an account for the virtual assistant. So you can still pick up the phone and answer it yourself, or they can answer the phone in any part of the world. The calls get recorded. text, you get to see them, the text, back and forth, pictures, whatnot. So everything is in the dashboard. Pretty nifty. It's only $33 per month, so it's very affordable. And then I get to hear the calls, right? I know, oh, you shouldn't say that. So it's important to train them though, because even though they can do the job pretty much, you have to keep an eye on that, right? Every week I go and listen to the phone calls, and then I take notes. Hey, they mentioned this. They shouldn't say that. They shouldn't look. You have to train them, constantly training. Otherwise, if you trust that they're doing a good job, you'll notice that the call ratio, or like the closing ratio, starts dropping, and it's usually because they forget, right? They kind of get tired. It's a repetitive job, so you need to keep training them, giving the feedback.
Hmm. Interesting. And I mean, I'm hearing a lot of different things that you've implemented to make things smoother. Are there any other processes you've done or technologies you've used to help the company?
Yeah, for sure. So, um, I use software for for online booking, and then dispatching the jobs, and then assign the calendar. So have like an organized calendar, and then assign the jobs to the right cleaners, and then offering an online booking. I use a software called Booking Koala, not affiliated in any way, so just throwing that out there. $57 a month. That's what runs my business. So that is like the main software for the business. Communications, Open Phone, that's for communications for customers, customer service, sales. For internal communication, I use Slack. So that's the software that I use for communicating with the cleaners, communicating with the customer service department. Cleaners are instructed to send me pictures of every job after they're done. They upload the pictures to Slack. That means I know the job is done. Then the customer service know the job is done, and I can run the card on Booking Koala. And that's pretty much it. I do have another CRM called CleanCore, which is a complement of Booking Koala. So Booking Koala is more like scheduling, charging customers, um, organizing the calendar. But CleanCore is more like text marketing, email marketing, some automations. They have the chat bubble, like have a chat bubble on my website, which is the software. So the way I do it, right? I use that CRM. Usually every week you have spots open on your calendar, and so calls are going to start coming in during Monday and Tuesday. So that's normal. But then if by Tuesday 4 p.m. my calendar still looks spotty, right? Like there's enough openings there, I go to CleanCore. I select 1,000 leads this could be customers that have already done business with me in the past that they're not recurring, or use people who contacted me who did not purchase from me. And then just grab 1,000 contacts, and then I send them an offer. Hey, we have some spots open, $50 off on any of our services. Reply yes if you're interested. About 10% of these people reply yes. You still work these people, and then you fill your calendar. So that's really it. So Booking Koala, main one, Open Phone, Slack, and then CleanCore, and that's all the softwares that you need to run this business.
Wow, I mean, it sounds like you're doing good with the costs too. I mean, the whole booking service
Yeah,
thing,
you want to
57
keep the
bucks.
cost low.
Keep
Yeah.
the margins high.
No, you definitely want to keep the cost low, because at the end, this is something I learned, as you're growing, the name of the game is not how much you make in gross, but how much you get to keep, right? And by keeping your cost operations low, that's why I rely a lot on virtual assistants, right? Software that is very affordable. Labor here, that is not, there's no way around that. People need to get paid here because they're essentially what they're doing the labor. But aside from that, you can do a lot of things to optimize and lower your costs. So that impacts your bottom line.
Interesting. Well, thank you for sharing all you shared. As anyone can see, Bumblebee, growing company, solid company. I guess, what are you most excited about looking forward into the future?
That's right. You asked me that earlier. Yes. What honestly, I have two options. I'm not sure which one I'm gonna go just yet. But one option is my daughter, my second or so, my daughter graduated last year, And then she decided to come back and help us. And she's like, hey, I want to help you. And I'm like, okay. So option one, it would be essentially, letting them take over the business, continue the business and keep growing it. Or option B is just grow it a little bit more to where we can sell it. Um, I like that idea as well, because um, I have ADD, so sometimes I get bored of doing the same thing over and over. So I'm always looking for like another thing to do. So I'm like, if I can get a good amount of cash, I'll take it. And I can move into do something else, right? So I have those two options. I haven't really decided on one yet, so it's kind of like open right now. But if my daughter decides really to take over and then really keep growing it, that is also a good option.
Well, there you go. Well, thank you for being on the show today and for sharing all you shared. Um, with that, is there anything else you want to share or anything else special you've seen?
No, really. I mean, at this point, like, as a tip for anybody out there, just keep learning. There's a lot of resources nowadays. Back in the day, it was kind of hard to come along, someone who wanted to teach. But now there's a lot of we have TikTok, we got Instagram, YouTube. There is a ton of resources for you guys. What I would say, just keep learning. One of the things that I struggled earlier, right? It was not knowing the intricacies of how running a business correctly. So I ended up getting fined by the Department of Labor one time. Then I got in trouble with the IRS two times. So all these things because I didn't know what I know now, right? But don't wait for things to happen to you. Be proactive and then keep learning as much as possible, right? Learn about labor laws, how much are you supposed to pay, breaks, payroll taxes. That was a big one. That's what got me in trouble with the IRS. And just learn, and then if you find someone who is already where you want to be, that is the biggest hack I found, right? Before I was trying to just do everything myself, but there's already a lot of people out there who already done what you want to do. Just approach them. I'm pretty sure they all have like either a course or a coaching program. Just pay them, and then you want to short the amount of time that you get to learn, and then you avoid all the headaches. So that will be my tip for everyone.
A great tip, great tip. Well, thank you again for being here. Thank you for everyone tuning in and watching today. Be sure to check out his services. So you're just in those two locations right now. Is that correct?
That is correct. Seattle and Atlanta.
Okay. Well, if anyone's living around there, be sure to hit them up. Get your house all nice and cleaned. But thank you everyone, and hope everyone has a great rest of their day.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Corey, for the invitation. I really appreciate it.
Of course.